Thank you for listening to Shulchanaruchharav.com.
What is the law if one accidentally recited Baruch Hu Uvaruch Shemo upon hearing a blessing in which he is intending in fulfilling his obligation? Such as, for example, during Havdalah or during Kiddush. One replied, Baruch Hu Uvaruch Shemo, upon hearing Hashem's name being said in the blessing of Mekadesh HaShabbos or Hamavdil ben Kodesh L'chel, and so on and so forth. In any case that one is attempting to be Yotzei a bracha with somebody else, what is the halacha if he said Baruch Hu Uvaruch Shemo? Should he say it? And what is the law if he accidentally did? So interestingly, while the recital and answering of an amen after a blessing is a Talmudic and halachic requirement for every Jew to answer upon hearing a blessing from another Jew, especially if he plans on fulfilling his obligation with that blessing, but not limited to that case, the saying of Baruch Hu Uvaruch Shemo, which blesses God's name that you just heard, is a mere custom of Jewry and not a halachic requirement. This introduction is pivotal to the understanding of the answer to our question. Regularly, when a blessing is said, such as during the Chazin's repetition of the Shemona Esrei during Chazaras HaShatz, or any blessing you hear from an individual saying it, and you do not plan on fulfilling your obligation with him with that blessing, then of course you are supposed to, based on the custom of Jewry, to say Baruch Hu Uvaruch Shemo upon hearing God's name. However, the moment we are discussing a blessing that you plan on fulfilling your obligation through hearing it from the individual, then since the basis of being Yotzei a bracha with another person is the rule of Shemea Ka'ayin, the one who hears is as if one who says, and thereby when you're hearing it from another Jew, it's as if you're saying it yourself, the answering of Baruch Hu Uvaruch Shemo in that case not only should not be done, but actually entails an interval between the blessing and Hashem's name. It's as if you spoke in middle of a blessing. And thus, the Poskim all rule that it is forbidden to answer Baruch Hu Uvaruch Shemo during a blessing that you plan to be Yotzei with. So while the answering of Amen should always be answered whenever you hear a blessing of a Jew, in all cases, whether you plan on being Yotzei or not with the blessing, Baruch Hu Uvaruch Shemo should only be answered when you hear Hashem's name of a blessing that you're not fulfilling your obligation with. While if you are, then you don't answer Baruch Hu Uvaruch Shemo. So rules the Alter Rebbe in Shulchanaruch chapter 124 Halacha 2 and 192 Halacha 2. So rules the Dvar Shmuel, Shoshanim LeDavid, Digul Meravav, the Mata Yosef, the Kids Shulchanaruch, the Chidah and Birchei Yosef, the Chaya Adam, the Mishnah Berurah, the Kaf HaChaim, and many other Achreinim. Now, although the Birchei Yosef brings that one shouldn't protest those who are lenient to answer Baruch Hu Uvaruch Shemo even in such a case, practically, as we just mentioned, the vast majority of Poskim all rule that it is forbidden to do so, and therefore it is not to be done. Now, what happens if he accidentally did say it? You didn't pay attention so much. You're used to answering Baruch Hu Uvaruch Shemo, you were hearing Havdalah or hearing Kiddush, and when he said Baruch Atah Hashem, you said Baruch Hu Uvaruch Shemo. What do you do now? Is it considered an interval that invalidates the blessing, and therefore you did not fulfill the obligation of the blessing? You didn't fulfill Kiddush, you didn't fulfill Havdalah, you have to do it again? Just like would be the case if you spoke of irrelevant matters during a blessing? Or do we say that b'diavad, since it's related to the blessing, it's okay, and you fulfill the obligation? Practically, this matter is a dispute amongst the Poskim. The Alter Rebbe in the Shulchanaruch, in chapter 124 Halacha 2, writes that it is possible that in the event that one said Baruch Hu Uvaruch Shemo to a blessing that he's hearing to be Yotzei, it's possible that even b'diavad he does not fulfill his obligation, as he made an interval between Hashem's name and Malchus, with words that were not instituted by the sages. Therefore, it's considered that he changed the dialect of the blessing that was said by the sages, in which case one is not Yotzei. Likewise, as rules the Alter Rebbe, so rules the Chaya Adam and other Achreinim, that one does not fulfill his obligation. Nonetheless, there are Poskim who conclude that one does fulfill his obligation b'diavad. So is the conclusion of the Mishnah Berurah in 124:21, the Maram Shik, the Birchei Yosef, and other Poskim. Practically, what should one do? In the event that he answered Baruch Hu Uvaruch Shemo by Hashem's name, a blessing he plans to be Yotzei, so Shulchan concludes that he is to try to hear the blessing again from another person. In the event that he cannot hear the blessing again from another person, he nevertheless fulfills his obligation of the blessing and is not to repeat it. This applies even for those who follow the Alter Rebbe Shulchanaruch, as even the Alter Rebbe only wrote that it's possible that he doesn't fulfill his obligation, and even these words were written in parentheses, and therefore we do not escape the doubt of the matter, and we have a great rule in brachas, Safek brachas lahakil, and therefore b'diavad one is Yotzei if he cannot find someone else to hear the blessing from. Nonetheless, we'll conclude with the Alter Rebbe's own words in the Shulchan Aruch that for this reason, that even possibly the Eved you're not Yotzei, it's imperative to warn the public of this matter, as many are unaware of this and they incorrectly answer Baruch Hu Uvaruch Shemo during the blessing. So to summarize, anytime you're being Yotzei a blessing with somebody, whether it be Kiddush, Havdalah, or any other blessing, do not answer Baruch Hu Uvaruch Shemo by Hashem's name, and if you did, you enter into a debate whether you were Yotzei the blessing, and l'chatchila in such a case, you should try to hear the blessing again from somebody else, such as to hear Kiddush and Havdalah from somebody else, and if you can't, then you're Yotzei, you fulfill your obligation, b'di'evid.
Thank you for listening to Shulchanaruchharav.com. Our free services of making Torah knowledge available to the public depends on donors like you. Please help us continue our work through making even a small contribution at Shulchanaruchharav.com under the Daily Halacha Dedication section or in the subscription page. Also, check out our online courses and many sefarim available for purchase that will both enhance your Torah knowledge and help support our work.